Whoa, what happened to my set? Well, that's because it's a new set entirely. If you want to know more about it, then go check out the latest video over on Tailosive Talks. I'll explain the situation, but I don't want to talk about that right now. I want to talk about the Galaxy Note 10 for real this time. That's right, for those of you who didn't catch it, my Note 10 recap video was made weeks before the Note 10 event actually took place because it was that dang predictable. I wasn't completely right, but not to toot my own horn, I think I did a pretty good job predicting and guessing what most of the announcements would be, and I had quite a lot of people fooled. But now that I'm back officially, back in America, I got to see the Note 10 in its true form, mostly from other YouTubers' videos. I didn't want to rewatch the entire event. From browsing their site and hearing what other channels talked about, I know the main points, but in today's video, I'll be talking about why the Note 10 is a very sad phone for Samsung. Let's begin. The main word that comes to mind when trying to describe the Note 10 is just pure hypocrisy. They have done so many things with the Note 10 that honestly should really tick off a majority of their audience. There is so many Samsung users out there that love to comment about the previous year's iPhones either having the display resolution too low, or there's no headphone jack and it's $1,000, or there's no expandable storage, and then Samsung went ahead and did all of those things on their own phones. Even worse, they mocked Apple for making these decisions between iPhones are stupid, they don't have expandable storage, or iPhones are stupid, they don't have a headphone jack, or iPhones are stupid, they cost $1,000. Now for the Note 10 to start at $950, and if you go on their site, you'll know how much they are pushing you to get the Note 10 Plus at $1,100. They are really pushing it. When you press the pre-order button, they've already by default selected the Note 10 Plus. They don't set you off on the cheaper model. When you click pre-order, they're like, so obviously you meant the Note 10 Plus, right? That one still has expandable storage, but no headphone jack. But the regular Note 10 is back to 1080p, even though the far cheaper Galaxy S10 is still at 1440p. And by the way, I don't fault Samsung for going with lower resolutions on their phone. I completely get that because most general users don't care. That's why the iPhone XR sold so well. It's just funny to see Samsung suddenly moving backwards and agreeing with Apple with so many design choices between, you know what, maybe not all phones need expandable storage, or maybe phones don't need headphone jacks, and it's okay if they're over $1,000 as long as they got good features. Samsung's in agreement with so much of what Apple does, and I'm really hoping that because of the embarrassment that was those Ingenious ads, which they very quietly removed them from their site. Several of those videos I talked about last year, in which they criticized iPhones for not having the headphone jack, and if you want to charge and use headphones at the same time, you gotta use that terrible double dongle. Well, guess what? You gotta do that same thing here. And I thought maybe Samsung was going to try to be the better company and say, you know what, we removed the headphone jack, but we are going to include wireless headphones. So there you go. We're the better company. We actually include Galaxy Buds with the Galaxy Note 10. That was kind of where I was expecting them to go, but turns out, nope. They just include USB-C earbuds, just like Apple does, except yes, of course, you could make the argument that USB-C headphones are probably a little bit more versatile than Lightning headphones, which you can use on very little things, but at the end of the day, that's not what most people were criticizing Apple for when they removed the jack. The huge criticism that I still see brought up in 2019 is people saying, all Apple did was create a problem and sell a solution, and you now cannot say Samsung did something any differently, because when you pre-order a Note 10 at checkout, they are heavily advertising, hey, since you're buying a phone without a headphone jack, might as well pick up some Galaxy Buds, right? If you pre-order, you could get those for free, as they give you some bonuses for pre-ordering the Note 10, but I'm talking more about the grand lineup of the Note series after the pre-order period, when we see the default prices and there's no longer this pre-order bundle that they're doing right now. Believe me, I think it would be really cool too if Apple allowed free AirPods when you bought a new iPhone, but so many people buy new iPhones, they would lose way too much money on that. The Note 10, with its price points, I don't think is going to sell incredibly well, so including $150 of in-store credit for accessories doesn't really surprise me. I don't think they'll lose that much money on it. Some other things worth mentioning are the Snapdragon 855, which is the same CPU in the Galaxy S10. It's not the latest version though, because now Android manufacturers have already made phones with the Snapdragon 855 Plus included, which is a little bit faster, not significantly more, but it's just worth noting that with the Note 10 Plus, you're spending $1,100 on an Android phone, okay? okay? I get it. My phone was also $1,100, but my phone's also gonna get 5 to 6 years of software updates. Your Galaxy Note 10 Plus is not. The software it has on it right now is probably going to be the same 5 years from now. It may change a little bit with Samsung One UI updates, but in regards to longevity and support, an iPhone I think can warrant a higher price point because you know how many years of software updates you're gonna get, and also how well the phone is going to hold its value. iPhones are king when it comes to resale value a year after you bought them. The XS Max is still worth a lot even today, despite the fact that it's approaching its first birthday. In a year, I doubt your Note 10 Plus is going to be worth as much as my XS Max is now. Now, I'm not saying the phone is bad overall. I'm critiquing Samsung mostly because of their hypocrisy with this design choice. Finally deciding to go downwards in display resolution because, hey, we set everybody's phone to 1080p out of the box anyway, right? So why not just bring down the resolution on the regular Note 10, which is fine. I'm sure it still looks great. And if you want to make fun of people for a notch, well, Samsung, you still got camera holes on all of your phones, which are just smaller floating notches. Granted, maybe some people prefer them over a notch, but regardless, when you're playing a game, when you're watching a movie, it's still going to show up. Plus, you made a notch on the Galaxy Fold, so please rethink your marketing from here on out, especially if your R&D department was working on this phone for so long. They should have communicated a little bit better with the company that, hey, you know what? We might go in a different direction someday. Maybe don't make fun of companies that are gonna do things we do ourselves. Even the Samsung Twitter account was known for tweeting to people like, of course, we wouldn't remove the headphone jack like the rest of the market. That would be just silly. That has aged horribly wrong, even though it was just a year ago. I can't help but say it. I have to bring it up, guys, but I told you so. If you were grasping on to that desperate idea that, oh, Samsung doesn't hate us, they just want to make phones that people love, and Apple's bad because they want us to buy AirPods and remove the headphone jack, and they just want our money. They're just an evil, rotten, disgusting company that wants money, and Samsung is the loving, gracious company to include the headphone jack. It was purely for marketing reasons. They knew if they kept the headphone jack for a couple more years, they could hold it over everybody else. We still have it, we still have it, we still got the headphone jack. You other companies removed it. We're the better phone, we still have it. And then they wait until iPhone users and Android users out there get used to not having the headphone jack. They switch to wireless. The wireless industry gets more competitive. How many YouTubers have you seen that promote wireless headphones now? A lot of them trying to imitate the original image AirPods provided. The idea of not just two buds connected via a wire, but they don't have to connect to the phone, but also just pods individually by themselves, no wire connecting them. That was very unheard of when AirPods came out, and AirPods quickly grew to be a very popular wireless headphone. Now that everyone's adjusted, now that everyone's bought some wireless headphones, yeah, okay, we'll remove the jack now. I don't think as many people will be angry. And they're right. They exactly predicted that. Once the industry finished their frustration and finished their anger with Apple about removing the jack and finally adjusted and got to the point where, you know what, removing the jack probably won't upset that many people, that's when they decide to remove it, and as expected, the majority of channels out there don't really seem to care. No one really bats an eye because, they held on to it as long as they could. I guess it doesn't matter. That's why Apple called it courage, people. A lot of people still make fun of them. They removed the headphone jack for courageous reasons. No, they did it for financial reasons. It's courage no matter where you stand on the subject. It's courage if you want a more wireless future. It's courage if you hate them for doing it because they had to suffer the backlash. At least Apple brought up that they removed the headphone jack at the event. Samsung never brought it up at their event, and for 2 years, Apple included the headphone jack adapter with the phone. The Note 10 flat out removed it, no adapter included, just USB-C earbuds. You want to use your old headphones, you have to go out and buy another adapter. Believe me, I'm fully aware that the latest iPhones don't come with an adapter. I'm just saying, for 2 years though, they did. It gave people enough time and enough warnings to say, hey, headphone jack's going away, here's a temporary solution, but ultimately you're going to want some wireless headphones or have an adapter now. Once those 2 years went by, they decided to stop including it because they figured the majority of users out there wouldn't utilize it. Samsung just went straight to not having it. So, hypocrisy. That's the one word I could use to describe the Note 10. As a phone, I'm sure it's fine. You know, the Apple sheep has nothing against there being no headphone jack or no expandable storage. I've lived that way for a long time. It's mostly just the price points in the direction they're taking the Note line in that kind of annoy me and kind of make me go, really? You think that's gonna help? If you guys disagree with me and say, no, Samsung knows what they're doing, their sales are gonna be great, well, check their last earnings report. report, because as a company, they're not doing great right now. Can't say the same about Apple, but still, I'm honestly unsure if I even want to review the Note 10. It just has so many similarities to the Galaxy S10, which I reviewed, and it was fine. I liked it. It was like my go-to Android if I had to switch, but I don't want to switch. So given all the announcements about the Note 10, and now that we know everything about it for sure, I still just think it's like, really? If you're gonna spend $1,000 or $1,100 on a phone, might as well get something that just lasts a little bit longer, right? Or at least holds its value better, so when you sell it, you can get a lot of that money back. I don't know. The thing is, so much more cheaper Androids are getting a lot better now that with phones like the OnePlus 7 Pro existing, it's kind of difficult to still think the Note 10 and Note 10 Plus are worth it. Even the Galaxy S10 makes the Note 10 kind of unnecessary. When you can get the S10e or the S10 or the S10 Plus, all of those, in my opinion, by Samsung standards, are much better phones. The only excuse you have with the Note is, well, stylus. You want a stylus, right? Well, everybody wants a stylus when they're reviewing a Note 10. As soon as they're not reviewing the Note 10, no one ever brings it up. It's not a high in demand feature. Anyway, let me know what you guys think of the Note 10 by hitting me up over on Twitter or joining our Discord. This is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you guys in the next one.